Subscribe to our YouTube channel and press the bell icon to get the latest updates.
If our sun were to explode in a supernova, it would destroy all life on Earth. In fact, it would destroy Earth itself. But not to worry, this is not something that is going to happen anytime in the near future or anytime even in the distant future, because our sun simply doesn't have the mass to go off as a supernova. Instead, it will expand into a red giant and then eventually cool down into a white dwarf millions and millions of years in the future. Nothing for us to be concerned about right now. However, supernova explosions occur around us all the time, thousands of light years away. And if a star is too close to our star, it could potentially destroy us or irradiate our planet. So it makes sense to study past supernovae or supernovas, especially the ones that are recorded in history and mythology, to understand them better. In this video, we're going to talk about a new study out this month in the International Journal of Astrobiology, which looks at the impact of supernovae on life on Earth. Specifically, it looks at the impact of past supernovae near the solar system on tree rings. My name is Sandhya Ramesh and this is Pure Science. University of Colorado geoscientist Robert Breckenridge has studied several of the past supernovae that occurred near our solar system in the last 40,000 years or so. And by observing rings on tree stumps corresponding to the times of these supernovae occurrences, his research concludes that exploring stars thousands of light years away can actually potentially have major impacts on our climate and environment here on Earth. Now, what are tree rings? We all know the basics about tree rings. If we take a cross section of a tree stump, by slicing it, we can see that the piece of circular-ish wood that we see has rings. Trees and plants grow by adding a layer of outer cells to their stem. These cells are water and food conducting cells that get added around the perimeter of a trunk. These rings grow under the bark, which then gets pushed out as the tree grows. Newer cells are thinner and seasonal variations can also be seen in ring thicknesses. One light ring plus one dark ring indicates 1 year of growth. The lighter ring forms during rainy season and a darker ring forms during the dry season like an outline. These tree rings also store within them information about climatic and environmental conditions going back to when they formed. Dry conditions show up darker. Forest fires show up as scars. Rings are broader when trees grow wider in warmer and wetter years, and rings are thinner to indicate that cold and drier years occurred. If there's a drought or any other extreme condition where there's no growth, the tree will not be growing much, and that will show up as a thin ring too. Paleoclimatologists, or those who study historic climatic conditions, rely upon natural sources of historic record to better understand past climate and environmental conditions centuries to millennia into the past. These include ice cores drilled from the Antarctic, or sediment collected from the ocean floor or at the bottom of a lake, and of course, tree rings. These all act as proxies using which we can understand past environmental conditions. Tree rings also record radiation from space in the atmosphere. Cosmic rays from space interact with nitrogen atoms in the upper atmosphere of Earth, which then leads to a nuclear reaction that creates radiocarbon. The quantity of radiocarbon can be picked up from tree rings. When radiocarbon spikes, the trees also record this spike. The British, American, as well as French nuclear bomb tests that were conducted back in the 50s and 60s have left a permanent record in trees around the world, all trees. The radiocarbon from these events were found to be almost double in quantity in rings that corresponded to those years. Now, cosmic rays themselves are produced by solar activity, so regular smaller spikes are observed, and it is believed that these spikes in tree rings, the radiocarbon spikes, are caused by cosmic rays, which are then seen as evidence of solar flares or activity on the sun. A supernova also releases tremendous amounts of radiation. When a star dies as a supernova, it blasts off its outer layers and it blasts off lots of radiation, irradiating space with very high energy gamma radiation for many years. So Breckenridge and his team set out to find evidence of these past irradiation events in tree rings. They first made a list of all known supernovae that occurred in the past 40,000 years by tracing the remnants of these supernovae or the nebulae that they left behind. A nebula, as many of us know, is a giant cloud of dust and gas in space. We can date them and tell which ones were created by supernovae and when. Then after they made the dated list, they compared the list to records of radiocarbon spikes found in tree rings over the same period. They discovered that in the past 40,000 years, 8 supernovae events caused radiocarbon spikes in tree rings. For example, the Vela supernova, which exploded around 12,300 years ago and about 800 light years away from Earth, corresponded to a 3% increase in tree ring radiocarbon levels. Another one that exploded about 7,700 years ago, around 2,300 light years away, corresponded with a 2% increase, and so on. While these findings are extremely interesting, the researchers themselves say that their results are not yet conclusive. This is because the dating is approximate, it isn't precise yet. And while it has been speculated for a while that tree rings might contain evidence of past supernovae, we're still just at the cusp of early findings of this form of science. So they can't say with 100% certainty that this is what they have observed, but the findings nonetheless do warrant further investigation. What are some things that we can learn from this? Of course, more information could help us uncover more about how and when supernovae occur in the Milky Way. It is very hard for us to predict when a star would explode, and the most recent one occurred over 400 years ago. It was called SN 1604 and was observed, as the name suggests, in the year 1604. Johannes Kepler studied it with great interest and even wrote about it in one of his works. The first recorded supernovae was probably observed in India sometime around 4500 BCE. It is now called HB9. Chinese astronomers in the 1st century CE or 1st century AD have recorded a bright sudden star in the sky that didn't disappear for 8 months. It didn't move like a comet either across the sky. And that is how supernovae appear to us on Earth, as sudden bright stars in the sky that can disappear within a few minutes or can last for many months. Many more, of course, have been historically observed as well and recorded. For now, we're all wondering if the star Betelgeuse is going to go supernova. Betelgeuse is the 10th brightest star in the night sky in the constellation of Orion and is red in color. It is a red supergiant. If it were to replace the Sun, it would possibly engulf even Jupiter. It's that big. And in infrared, it is the brightest star in the night sky. Its mass is about 10 to 20 times that of the Sun, but it's much, much, much younger. Our Sun approximately is about 4 billion years old, while Betelgeuse is merely 10 million years old. But it grew fast and it will die fast in a spectacular fire show. We think Betelgeuse left the main sequence, which is the phase of fuel burning that the Sun is now at, about 1 million years ago. And then it has been a supergiant, a red supergiant, for at least 40,000 years. That is what we believe about Betelgeuse right now. The star has started to dim and brighten sporadically in the past few months, and this has caused a lot of excitement in the astro community about whether it is going to go supernova and whether we're going to observe a supernova explosion in our lifetimes. But experts and astronomers point out that this erratic dimming and brightening, while is unusual, is really not unprecedented. Most astronomers seem to agree that Betelgeuse is not going to blow anytime soon. But whenever it does, it's left to see if that bright light will also record a spike on ground here in instruments and, of course, in tree rings.